Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 14, procedural motion, limitation of debate on sessional papers.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the procedural motion on the limitation of debate on sessional papers, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairpersons of the relevant committee, if the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. Honorable Speaker, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. Honorable Speaker, I would like to request the Honorable Jerusha Mongina Momanyi, the Honorable Member of Nyamira, to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Honourable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority and the leader of minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee. If the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of majority party and the leader of the minority party, in that order. May I put the question? I now put the question, honourable members, which is that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee if the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. And that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, in that order. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 15, procedural motion, limitation of debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices.
Leader, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to move the procedural motion on the limitation of debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices. Honourable Speaker, the pursuant to the provisions of the Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of the Constitutional Commission and independent offices be limited as follows: a maximum of 4 hours with no more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and the priority be accorded to the chairpersons of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, in that order. Honourable Speaker, these are constitutional commissions and independent offices. When we have this kind of motion, Honourable Speaker, they are accorded that time as distributed. Honourable Speaker, I wish to request, the one I was targeting is not here, but I want to request the Honorable Sabina Chege, the whip of the Jubilee Party, to second.
Honorable Sabina Chege, please proceed. Whip Jubilee Party.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I second. And Madam Speaker, I just want to urge the House Business Committee, as they plan on the talkings and the timing and the timelines, we have, and the limitation of debate, Madam Speaker, we have many private members' bills that are very important. So I know they tend to prioritize the government bills, which is okay. But we have many bills that need to come to this floor of the House, and we execute them, Madam Speaker, because they are very important to this nation. But I second. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 79, honorable members, I will take that again. I'll start afresh. I now propose the question that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 97(1), this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices be limited as follows: a maximum of 4 hours with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and the priority be accorded to the chairperson of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party, and the leader of the minority party, in that order. Honorable members, do I go on to put the question? Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 97(1), this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices be limited as follows: a maximum of 4 hours with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for the other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority be accorded to the chairperson of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party, and the leader of the minority party, in that order. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 16, procedural motion, limitation of debate on the annual estimates and committee of supply.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the procedural motion on the limitation of debate on the annual estimates and committee of supply. Honorable Speaker, that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97(1), this House orders that each speech in a debate on the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on budget estimates contemplated under Standing Order 239 and 240 be limited as follows: general supply debate, a maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying, a maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committees, in that order that they appear in the second schedule to the standing orders. And 2, committee of supply, a maximum of 6 sittings for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes programs in the order specified in the schedule submitted by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Honorable Speaker, we are starting the budget cycle. Today we laid the paper that is supposed to trigger the budget cycle. And this procedural motion, therefore, gives guidance to that debate. Many times people ask, what is a committee of supply? What is a general supply debate? And sometimes it mixes up members in this chamber. But it's important that they acquaint themselves. And I would like to request the Honorable almost senior counsel, Honorable Chepkonga, to second this.
Honorable Chepkonga, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'd like to thank Honorable Baya for moving this important motion. As you can see, Madam Speaker, I'm seated next to ladies here, members of Parliament, who are preparing for tomorrow's day. Just a reminder that tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Even as I second this motion, that the women are giving notice to the men to be prepared tomorrow to take them out for Valentine's Day, because we are not sitting tomorrow. And with those remarks, Madam Speaker, I second.
Chairman, Honorable Chepkonga. And we thank you very much for seconding. Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on budget estimates contemplated under Standing Order 239 and 240 be limited as follows. 1. General supply debate. A maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying. A maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committees in the order that they appear in the second schedule to the standing orders. And 2, the Committee of Supply, a maximum of 6 sitting days for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes/programs in the order specified in the schedule submitted by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. May I go ahead and put the question? Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on budget estimates contemplated under Standing Order 239 and 240 be limited as follows. 1. General supply debate. A maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying. A maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and the priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of minority party and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committees in the order that they appear in the second schedule to the standing orders. And 2, the Committee of Supply, a maximum of 6 sitting days for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes/programs in that order specified in the schedule submitted by Budget and Appropriations Committee. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as have contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 17, procedural motion, limitation of debate on consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly.
Majority Leader, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the procedural motion on the limitation of debate on consideration of Senate amendments to the bills originating in the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 146, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows: a maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes, with not more than 15 minutes for the mover in moving, 15 minutes for the chairpersons of the relevant departmental committee, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, if the bill is not party sponsored. And that 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply. And further, that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Honorable Speaker, I would like to request the Honorable Mudhoni to second.
Mudhoni, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do second this proposal by the majority leader. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 97-1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 147, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows: a maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes, with not more than 15 minutes for the mover in moving, 15 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, if the bill is not party-sponsored. And that 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply. And further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the mover of to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Thank you. I'll put the question. I want to give a chance to the senior to take his seat. Thank you very much, honorable members. I now proceed to put the question, which is that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 147, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows: a maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes, with not more than 15 minutes for the mover in moving, 15 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, if the bill is not party-sponsored. And 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply. And further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 18, procedural motion, consideration of business received during the recess periods.
Majority Leader, please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the procedural motion on consideration of business received during the recess period. Honorable Speaker, that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveying of messages from the Senate and from the President or the National Executive, Standing Orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publications, procedure upon publication and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210, 2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments. This House orders that during the short and long recess of the fourth session, one, upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any names of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House on reception. 2. Upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendment to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on reception. 3. Should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill becomes due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer such bill to the relevant committee for the consideration pursuant to the provisions of the Standing Order 127, that is committal of bills to committees and public participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4. Should any statutory instrument be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provision of Section 2 of the Statutory Amendment Instrument Act number 3 of 2023. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. Honorable Speaker, all these 5 matters refer to matters that come to the House when the House is on recess. And during that recess, then, this procedural motion gives the Speaker the latitude and the privilege and the power to ensure that he can transmit these businesses to the relevant committee during this time and report to the House when the House sits. Honorable Speaker, I want to use this opportunity to call upon the Honorable General Basil to speak on this and second. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you.
I heard General. He's not called.
Basil the MP for Yatta.
Member for Yatta, please proceed.
I think he wants to promote me, but I've not been in the military, so I don't know why he's using the word general as a before my name. Anyway, thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Deputy Majority Leader for requesting me to second this procedural motion. When I keenly look at the calendar of the National Assembly for 2025, it's very well structured, and I have no doubt to say I second the procedural motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member for Yatta, Honorable Basil. Honorable members, I now propose the question that notwithstanding provisions of Standing Orders 41 and 42 relating to conveying of messages from the Senate and from the President or the National Executive, Standing Order 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure, and upon publication in the first reading of bills, and Standing Order 122 relating to tabling of statutory instruments. This House orders that during the short and long recess of the 4th session, 1, upon receipt of any messages from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2, upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendments to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule to the Senate amendment to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 145, Senate amendment to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such facts to the House on resumption. 3. Should a bill be published during the said period or a published bill become due for the first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer such bill to the relevant committee for consideration, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, committal of bill to committees and public participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4. Should any other statutory instrument be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting, in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act, number 3 of 2013, and 5. Should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon the next sitting. Honourable members, may I now go ahead and put the question? I now put the question, which is that, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveying of messages from the Senate and from the President or the National Executive, Standing Orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure upon publication, and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210-2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments. This House orders that during the short and long recess of the fourth session, 1, upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2. Upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendment to the relevant committee for consideration, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 145, Senate amendment to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3. Should a bill be published during the said period or a published bill become due for the first time, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such a bill is of priority, forthwith refer such bill to the relevant committee for consideration, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, committal of bills to committees and public participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting. And the second reading may be taken forthwith or such other day, or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4. Should any statutory instrument be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon the next sitting in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of the Statutory Act, number 3 of 2013. And 5, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. Honorable members, may I put the question? Honorable members, will as many as have that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 19, procedural motion, limitation of debate on legislative proposals to amend the Constitution.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I know it's a long day for you, but we are managing. As Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the procedural motion on the limitation of debate on legislative proposals to amend the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147A and B, consideration of the legislative proposals to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying. 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored. Members with similar or related proposals and the chairpersons of the relevant departmental committee, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Honorable Speaker, I would like to request the Honorable Professor Barto Jepkemoi to second.
Honorable Dr. Barto.
Madam Speaker, I second.
Thank you very much, Professor. Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147A-B, consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying. 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, if the proposal is not party-sponsored. Members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committees, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking. And further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committees in that order. I'll now go ahead and put the question. I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147A-B, consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying. 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored. Members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committees, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking. And further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committees in that order. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 26, motion, approval of the calendar of the National Assembly for 2025.
Yes, honorable members, you realize that we have skipped 20, 21, 22, 23, and now we are on. You may proceed, Majority Leader. Honorable Owenbaya. Thank you very much. I would like to put on record that order number 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 were already considered by the Speaker and the House. So now we may proceed with order number 26 as read. Honorable Majority Leader.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, pursuant to the provisions of the Standing Order 28, this House approves the calendar of the National Assembly regular sessions for the 4th session 2025 as contained in the schedule to the order paper. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee has proposed a total of 199 sittings between 11th of February 2025 and 4th of December 2025. This excludes special sittings and any extra sitting that the House may resolve to sit. Honorable Speaker, as members may be aware, business in the first part of the session is mostly guided by the submission of the budget policy statement, the BPS, which we laid today, and the medium-term budget strategy by 15th February 2025, which we have laid also today, the budget policy statement and the medium-term debt strategy, which we laid today and should be considered and adopted by the House within 14 days. So, Honorable Speaker and members, within the next 14 days from today, we'll be considering these two very important documents that we have laid, and this will be done within the 14 days. So I request members to read the budget policy statement and also to ensure that they have acquainted themselves to the contents of the medium-term budget term debt strategy, which we have done today. Honorable Speaker, additionally, we expect the Division of Revenue Bill to be introduced in the National Assembly by 10th of March 2024. Honorable Speaker, as we are aware, the Division of Revenue Bill usually is a very contentious document because of what counties want, what the national government wants, what the Equalization Fund wants, and all those. So, Honorable Speaker, I request that members make sure that they read the Division of Revenue Bill and take a position, and we debate this matter here by the 10th of March when we table this. Honorable Speaker, the second part of the session is guided by the budget timelines on conducting of public hearings by the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the annual budget estimates. This should be undertaken before the committee tables its report on the estimates for approval by the House. Honorable Speaker, we know what happened last session when we had the budget and the finance bill coming to this House, and I think it's important that proper public participation be conducted so that the residents of this country and our residents in our constituencies are aware of the contents of these two very important documents as we prepare, Honorable Speaker, going forward. Honorable Speaker, again, further, mid-June will be pronouncements of the budget highlights. A very important day for Parliament and for the country, the budget highlights, where we have, and the revenue raising measures, where we have the Cabinet Secretary will come to present such in this House. Honorable Speaker, you may find it very interesting that for the first time, the Honorable John Ngongo Mbandi will be coming to this House, not as a member sitting, but as a Cabinet Secretary to lay the budget estimates and appropriations in this House. So we look forward to mid-June when the highlights on the budget and highlights on revenue-raising measures will come to this, and therefore approval of the Budget and Appropriations Committee report on the annual estimates introduction and approval of the appropriations bill will be done during this time. Very important piece of legislation that we shall have, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, important also is the finance bill. The appropriations bill and any other supplementary appropriations bill should be approved by 30th of June 2025. So the finance bill, and I know I have seen a lot of effort, Honorable Speaker, to ensure the finance bill that we are bringing into this House is put to the general public and proper debate is taken and proper public participation. And I want to commend the efforts of the Honorable John Mbadi for having started off. I saw him at Jivanji Gardens. I have seen him today doing a very good press conference and enlightening the public. And that's how important it is, Honorable Speaker, when you have a Cabinet Secretary who has come from this House and who has served in this House, and he goes out there, becomes Cabinet Secretary, and he takes over the work and he does it with enthusiasm and passion, and he wants to inform the public, and I think that is really commendable to the Minister and the Ministry in Treasury. Honorable Speaker, the preparations of the calendar has also taken into consideration religious holidays, with Easter, Good Friday being on the 18th of April 2025, and the Easter Monday falling on 21st April 2025, and similar Eid ul Fitri is expected to take place on the Sunday of 8th 30th March 2025, or Monday 31st or March 2025, depending on the sighting of the moon. Honorable Speaker, it's important that members also take time off with their families to celebrate these very important holidays, and therefore the calendar that we have has taken cognizance of this, and therefore we have put it in there to ensure that members go out there for this holiday. Honorable Speaker, it is also worth noting that the annual prayer breakfast, a very important date for this House, the annual prayer breakfast, which is actually attended by many dignitaries from outside the country, and also His Excellency the President of the Cabinet, and every other member, we come together to pray for this country. Very important. And I hope the committee that is led by the Honorable Chepkonga, Honorable Chepkonga today, is preparing for Valentine, and he's very busy trying to get a Valentine date for tomorrow, where he is seated. But I want to remind him of his role as the chairman of the annual prayer breakfast. Please make sure it is properly prepared so that members join, the country joins in this annual event. We have therefore prepared the calendar to ensure that this important event in our parliamentary calendar falls within the period when the House is sitting. This will enable many members to attend. Honorable Speaker, finally, Honorable Speaker, the calendar has taken into consideration the school calendars for both primary and secondary school holidays. The intention of this is to enable members and staff with children to attend to them during the school holiday. Honorable Speaker, with those very many remarks, I request that we adhere to this calendar. This calendar is very important to drive the business of this House, and we have a lot of work to do within the 119 sittings that we shall be here during this year. And therefore, I would request, in the absence of my counterpart on the other side, who was supposed to second this because he sits in the House Business Committee, I would like to request the Council, Honorable Murungara, a very standing, a very outstanding member of this House, to second. Thank you very much.
Honorable Murungara, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I move to second this procedural motion, it's important that I also echo the sentiments of the Leader of Majority, in that we have our hands full, as shown by this calendar. We have a lot to do, and especially in the budget making process, which has just started and which will be with us until the end of June 2025. Thereafter, we will be looking at the particular acts of parliament to actualize the budget, including the Finance Act or Finance Bill and the Division of Revenue Bill, which will all be coming to us. And it's vitally important to remind the country what we went through last year, that we should actually have adequate public participation, right from this House to the government itself, the executive, through the Honorable John Mbandi, so that the population does not once more say they are not informed, they do not know what is in this budget, while in fact, these processes are very important. There is no country in this world that can run without financial statements, without a budget, or without taxation, or without everything else that was rejected in the previous Finance Act. So we have to prepare ourselves. We know that as parliamentarians who will take the flak. We are the ones who will be blamed for most of this. But as we do this, and as we ensure that our constituents are informed on what we are doing, let the executive also come in and even play a bigger role. With those remarks, I urge the members to take the work of the House very seriously and ensure that we have the necessary quorums at all times to ensure that the business of the day on each particular day is transacted to the fullest. Those remarks I beg to second.
Thank you, Honorable Murungara, member for Tharaka. Honorable members, I propose the question that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 28, this House approves the calendar of the National Assembly regular session for the 4th session, 2025. as contained in the schedule to the order paper. Before I put the question, honorable members, I'd like to give a chance to the Honorable Samuel Chepkonga, member for Ainapkoi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this very important motion. As you know, Madam Speaker, members need to know when we are proceeding on recess, when we are coming back to the House, so that we can plan appropriately to be in our constituencies. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Owen Bayer, who is my very good friend, made an attempt to say that the Honorable Murugara is in good standing. I don't know in good standing where in this House. All members who are in this House, Madam Speaker, are in good standing. Unless he wants to talk about the legal profession. It is true, the Honorable Murugara is in good standing. That's why he has a practicing certificate. But not with regard to this House. All members are in good standing, Madam Speaker. And with those remarks, I beg to support.
Thank you. I'll now put the question. Honorable members, I put the question that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 28, this House approves the calendar of the National Assembly regular session for the 4th session 2025 as contained in the schedule to the order paper. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 27, the Equalization Fund Administration Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2023, second reading.
Honorable members, the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning is engaged in other House matters, so this will be pushed to another day. Next order.
Order number 28, the Political Parties Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2022, second reading.
Honorable members, the Vice Chairperson, Procedure and House Rules Committee is also engaged in other important business of this House, and therefore that is also pushed to another day as it will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Honorable members, there being no other business, and thank you for your patience. Honorable members, and the time now being 6 minutes to 5 o'clock, this House stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 18th of February, 2025 at 2:30 p.m.
calls. I don't know why Senator Haji has proposed in this particular amendment under Section 4 that instead of what Nyayo used to tell us, that you cut one, plant two, he's saying when you cut one, you plant one. Honorable Haji, as a person who I know you also grew up during that era, we should at least encourage that there has to be growth from that position of Moi, and even adopt the position that has been given by Senator Mariam, where if you cut one, you plant three. Honorable Speaker, as the Senator for Nairobi, many Nairobians believe that in 2004 we had one of the best town clerks by the name John Gakuo. And he is credited for providing a clean environment for the people of Nairobi. He sorted out the garbage menace at that particular point in time. He is famously known for dreaming of a city in the forest. And in an interview just a few months before he passed away, he said that his one biggest regret was that he was not able to achieve that dream. I remember, Honorable Speaker, many people can still remember how Mombasa Road all the way through to Uhuru Highway used to look. It was a boulevard with very nice mature trees in the median and also on the side of the road. But, Honorable Speaker, subsequent developments have come, including the construction of the expressway, that have ensured that all those trees that used to be in those places were cut down. And we, as a leadership of Nairobi, of course, are extremely concerned with the state of the environment in the city. Some of the issues that have been brought up by Senator Mungatana, including the continued closure or barring of residents from accessing Uhuru Gardens and Central Park, which is part of Uhuru Park. Honorable Speaker, in April of 2024, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, the Honorable Aden Duale, appeared before plenary of this House, and he committed to this House that he was going to hand back both of those parks, both Uhuru Park, Central Park, and even Uhuru Gardens, back to the people of Nairobi. The situation that has been described by Senator Mungatana is something I can attest to. If you go to Langata Road on a Saturday, when ordinarily many people do their laundry or household chores, you will find many of those women who do those chores have nowhere to sit. They sit along the road, and it is quite an unsightly thing to see, not to mention the lack of facilities for the people of Nairobi to relax. Honorable Speaker, therefore, we must continue to call on the Ministry of Defense, because these two parks were taken over by the Ministry of Defense in February of 2022, and they were being renovated by the military. And the CS himself committed here, and you heard him say that, in fact, he was going to do it the next day, which was the 18th of April in 2024. We are almost coming to a year since that pronouncement by the CS, and that situation is unacceptable. Honorable Speaker, there was another baffling piece of news that I saw this week. The President telling us that they had planted 750 million trees over a period of 12 months in 2024. For many of us, the math was not mathing, as they say in the streets, because that would translate to 2 million trees per day. Honorable Speaker, 2 million trees per day being planted is not something you can hide. And we are hoping that these figures can be backed up. I hope that those who are participating in that tree planting, I can hear Senator Cherargei confirming that he planted 2 million trees a day, at least in Nandi. Let him show us where those trees have been planted. Honorable Speaker, we even went ahead and created a holiday for tree planting in this country. But the incentives are not there. And there's a very serious lack of transparency, Honorable Speaker, even surrounding the question of where these seedlings are being procured. Some of us might not look like we know much about tree planting, but Honorable Speaker, if I share with you my life history, in 2010, I was working for a billboard company here in Nairobi. And part of my duty was, in fact, because as Gakuo had said, the biggest enemy of trees in Nairobi were the people who were running the billboard business. And the company that I used to work for decided that they were going to take initiative in making sure that if there is any tree that is affected because of a billboard going up, we would plant at least 100 seedlings to replace that one tree. And Honorable Speaker, because I was the head of administration then, it fell to me to be the one in charge of that program. Believe it or not, in my suit as a lawyer, as an advocate, I used to know all the suppliers of tree seedlings in Nairobi, from the Kenya Forest Service there. They had a nursery on Kiambu Road, all the way to the people who sell trees on Ngong Road. All those people were my friends. I used to have suppliers of manure and red soil in Wangige, who I knew by name. And we used to do tree planting sponsored by that company, Honorable Speaker. But you can see that because we have let go of the rules of the city, there is a serious proliferation of even the billboards in Nairobi, and nobody does that tree planting anymore. Honorable Speaker, we want that this particular amendment to the law, we hope will bring about some sanity and make sure that we return the city to the dream that Honorable John Gakuo had, even if in the end he met with a very ignominious end. Honorable Speaker, therefore, I want to be on record supporting this amendment. And Honorable Speaker, we want to urge again on behalf of the people of Nairobi that we must return this city to the people. And those facilities that were taken over by the military, it is now long overdue. We don't have to summon the CS for defense to this house again for him to again make promises. We just want the people of Nairobi have access to Central Park, Uhuru Park, and Uhuru Gardens. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I have made it clear that I have a problem with the way this government communicates. We were all shocked a few months ago when we started seeing videos on social media of tree cutting that was allegedly going on in, what is it called, Karura Forest. Honorable Speaker, we were all alarmed, only for the Kenya Forest Service to follow after the outrage, they follow up with a communication claiming that they were harvesting mature trees. Really, if the government or the Kenya Forest Service intends to harvest trees in any of our forested areas in Nairobi, they need to be able to communicate to us that this is what is going to happen. Not to wait for social media outrage, then they follow up with a communication that it is harvesting of mature trees that is going on. And they have not told us about any of the plans to replace that deforestation that happened. We were also very alarmed. One day we just wake up, Honorable Speaker, and when you're driving on the Southern Bypass, you find a whole section of the forest there cleared, and nobody gives any explanation. Then you hear, oh, there is somebody who's building a golf resort. Why are these things done in the manner in which they are done? If the government intends to run such a program, Honorable Speaker, I want them to change the way they communicate with the public. Make it clear that in the next 6 months, we want to undertake such and such a program, and that this is going to be the environmental effect for the people of Nairobi to know that this is a project that is being undertaken by government and not by people who are unscrupulous business people. So with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you, Senator Sifuna. And if there is anybody who probably would be doubting that you were spearheading tree planting in the course of one of your assignments in the year 2010, yours truly can confirm that indeed you managed that sector very well when you were dealing with the billboard sector. And so you did a good job. I do also expect that in the course of your duties as a senator, please ensure you plant trees wherever you are, in and outside the city of Nairobi. Senator Moses Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the Environmental Laws Amendment Bill 2024, and I also want to congratulate Senator Abdul Mohamed Haji, who is the sponsor of this bill. Mr. Speaker, this is an important bill. It's surprising that existing legislation has not provided for what Senator Abdul Haji is calling for in this amendment, because this bill seeks to amend the existing act to make further provisions for afforestation and reforestation of forests in counties in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, this was a pet subject in the administration of President Daniel Arap Moi. Out of the many things he did, I think those of us who were in the 844 system of education, afforestation and reforestation was afforestation, reforestation, and deforestation were concepts that always came up in our GHC, Geography, History, and Civics syllabus and examination. I'm not very sure how the CBC has taken care of this, but I hope that the education curriculum has picked these concepts to encourage our children that a tree planted today is not a tree planted for today's child, it is a tree planted for our children and our grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. It is noble, Mr. Speaker, for Senate to call upon county governments to ensure that they promote tree planting and also become actively involved in the National Tree Planting Week. Mr. Speaker, I think it was in the last year that we were given a holiday out of the blues. And in the Kenyan humor, particularly Kenyans who have lived for a long time in Nairobi, they decided to plant trees in all kinds of holes. And we are waiting to see, perhaps after 9 months, whether those trees have germinated and whether they have grown. And so, Mr. Speaker, if you give Kenyans a public holiday without clearly telling them what they're supposed to do and without a clear build-up on the activities of that day, Kenyans will misuse it. They will take advantage of the day for sherehe and take advantage of the day to do other things that do not promote that objective. That particular event, that National Tree Planting Day, Mr. Speaker, we saw the national government, particularly the members of the national executive, were the ones flying in choppers, going around the country, releasing carbon into the atmosphere, further causing serious damage to our climate, going to hills and forests, and it was a one-day affair. Mr. Speaker, we are not very sure whether those trees were taken care of. I wish that Senator Ledamo Lekina was in this house, because I do recall when there was a fight for the Mau forest, he had a very innovative approach where he went and approached friends from South Africa who gave him a small aircraft and gave him seed balls. And I do recall him flying all over the Mau and dropping seed balls. Mr. Speaker, this issue of reforestation, we should not think about it through the prism of the traditional digging a hole and planting a tree. Even seed balls have been found to be quite effective. And I want to encourage county governments to adopt that approach. And it is very easy to use youth groups, to use women groups, to use organized groups, to give them those seed balls, let them scatter them, let them spread them, so that when the rains start falling like it did today in Nairobi, then those seed balls can germinate. But beyond the seed balls, I think it's also a bright idea, as Senator Abdul has proposed, that we need to establish tree nurseries in each county. These tree nurseries, I hope that we are not going to have this situation that we have started seeing in a few counties. I've seen a program called Climate Works Mtaani. And Mr. Speaker, this is a program with good intentions, but if it's not scrutinized, if it's not oversighted, then governors are just going to be organizing militias with the next election in mind. If you're going to do legitimate climate works in our county governments, let's ensure that they go out of the clutches and out of the control of governors, because they're going to just get their goons and their usual cheering squad into those programs. And those people will be there not for the love of the environment, but just to get a small income. I do recall in one of the other counties that we looked at in the Public Accounts Committee, I think it was Tharaka Nithi County. Mr. Speaker, in that county, the governor had set up small units of youth in every ward, and the number was quite high. Even though they were not involved in climate or tree planting, they were involved in maintenance of roads, and that triggered some concern that some of these things we establish purportedly to benefit the youth can be easily abused. The tree nurseries in counties, I hope that we can come up with a model where we can empower self-help groups, community-based organizations. These people who are currently parading plants and seedlings along the roadside, let the county governments not throw them out of business. For the county government to do a giga nursery, the way they are doing giga kitchens for school feeding. I hope this is not going to lead to giga tree nurseries controlled by county governments, consuming public resources, and that is overpriced and overvalued. Let's hope that this is going to spread out. I already can see how this will work in my county of Homa Bay. Senator Beatrice Ogola knows that along the lake, on the shores of Lake Victoria, it's a very fertile zone because, there's a silt that comes upstream and goes into the lake. So it's extremely fertile. A lot of young people, for lack of employment, have now resorted to go to the shores of the lake, those silted areas. Some areas are fairly swampy, and they're growing vegetables, they're doing tomatoes, they're doing sukuma wiki and cabbages. And Mr. Speaker, I can tell you they're doing extremely well. In my village, the boys and girls who are doing farming next to the lake are doing better than those who are operating border borders on the tarmac. And these are already existing groups which if we can give them an incentive that if they can set up tree nurseries, there'll be an off-take program by the county government. I believe this can broaden their revenue sources and put more money in the pockets of our youth in the counties. Mr. Speaker, I further support the proposal that there would be tax and fiscal incentives to boost investments in forest land use and utilization. If someone does good for the environment, let them get some benefit. Let them get something in return for doing good. I think this would be the best justification for fiscal incentives, because we are making investments that are going to last beyond generations. And you see, Mr. Speaker, many a times when we are talking about our finance bills and our fiscal policies, it is always about the increase in tax. The conversation on reliefs is not usually amplified. And I do hope that C.S. Mbadi, if he was listening, this would be a very genius insertion into his fiscal plan and finance bill that he would be bringing to Parliament, that instead of starting his speech by saying that we are increasing VAT, or we are increasing housing levy, or we are increasing this social health, that he would start his conversation by saying that we are giving an incentive to people who plant trees. We are giving incentives to corporates who, as part of their corporate social responsibility, they have decided that they're going to reforest and ensure that our country's tree cover and forest cover is maintained and is optimized. Because, Mr. Speaker, corporates sometimes engage in CSR that might not have very consequential long-term effects. I know a number of corporates have gone into the sports arena because it's in sports that there is visibility. In fact, I would have gone ahead and proposed that out of the resources we get from betting and gambling companies, a certain percentage should be ring-fenced and directed towards climate adaptation and climate mitigation activities. Because, Mr. Speaker, that industry is extremely liquid, not because it is exploitative, but because I think this country, our young people have a gambling culture as a result of lack of opportunities. And I believe that we could put a sin tax. We could put a sin tax on gambling. We could put a sin tax, as we have done, on tobacco. We could put a sin tax on alcohol, but direct it not just to the overall budget support that we have done, but put a percentage to go to climate change activities. Mr. Speaker, the National Tree Planting Week, if it is well coordinated and organized, I believe that all the primary schools and secondary schools and universities in this country, if they knew 3 months in advance, or if they knew if it was put in the annual calendar of the nation, that on a certain day we are going to plant trees, it will be much more effective than a date being gazetted in an ambush fashion as it was done in the last year. Mr. Speaker, when the Leader of Majority was making comments on this bill yesterday, he challenged the Climate Change Caucus, which I have the privilege to lead, to do much more in terms of climate action. Mr. Speaker, I do agree with the Leader of Majority that a lot of conversations around climate have existed in boardrooms, have existed in conferences. We have had conferences of parties. Right now, we are, I think, at COP28 going to COP29. And yet, whenever we go there, it turns out to be a talking shop. We come back without making substantive progress. Last year, when we went to Baku in Azerbaijan, the African countries and the least developed countries wanted a new collective quantifiable goal on climate finance that would mobilize $1.3 trillion for climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. Mr. Speaker, it was quite a disappointment that out of that conference of parties, the developed countries were not able to achieve much. I believe that the commitments that were made did not exceed 300 billion out of more than 1 trillion that was required. It is further troubling that the United States of America has given notice of withdrawal from the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, under which parties organize themselves under the Conference of Parties. Mr. Speaker, the rest of the world cannot afford to go to sleep simply because the United States of America has decided to be irresponsible. You do not stop taking care of your garden. You do not stop fumigating your house simply because your neighbor is not fumigating theirs. And that seems to be the very irrational decision that the United States has made, because they argue that they should not be penalized for success. But that success has been at great expense to the rest of the countries. So, Speaker, I do believe that if democracy was to hold sway, that in the next 3-4 years, the residents of the US will see the folly of the decisions that they're making today, and that they will come back to the UNFCCC, and they'll come back to be parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Mr. Speaker, I want also to put it on record that within the Climate Change Caucus, we have appreciated that we must go beyond the talk and do some action. In this session, Mr. Speaker, we will be initiating a program known as Parliamentarians for Climate Change. This is a program that has been financed by the Green Climate Fund through UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and it is being implemented by Climate Parliament, which is a global organization that brings together parliamentarians who are passionate about climate change. The theme of this engagement is to encourage establishment of green investment zones in each country. A green investment zone, think about it as the way we look at the EPZs, the way we look at industrial zones, the way we look at county aggregation parks. A green investment zone would be an area that is custom-made with proper laws, proper regulations, proper infrastructure for people to come and put in investments in renewable energy. Now, you can imagine that today, if you wanted to put up a solar farm, and I have this experience, Mr. Speaker, we had a US investor who wanted to put up a 40-megawatt solar farm on the hills of Nyakwere. I think Senator Beatrice Ogola was a CEC member in Homa Bay at that time, and I believe she was involved in ensuring that the land was acquired and in bringing in the investor. And the investors were quite ready to put in millions of US dollars into this project, to put in 40 megawatts. But then the problem came up in offtake, because EPRA, the regulatory authority, and the rest of the entities, statutory bodies involved in uptake and transmission of electricity had a dim view of solar. They said solar is intermittent power and that it is not stable, and therefore they were not prioritizing it into the national grid. Mr. Speaker, advances in solar energy and technology have outstripped advances in any other sector. We see, courtesy of electric vehicles, the advances in storage of power, the advances in batteries, the advances in inverters, advances in solar panels, Mr. Speaker, this country needs to have a clear and robust renewable energy strategy that puts solar at the center. One country that has just recently suffered the vagaries of climate change, I think that must be Zambia. Their energy mix is heavily reliant on hydro. And then there was the El Nino and La Nina that hit Southern Africa recently. There was a devastating drought in Southern Africa. The rivers dried, and so the hydropower stations could not generate electricity. That country was engulfed in darkness. In Kenya today, we are generating our electricity from renewable sources like the geothermal towards Naivasha. We also have wind in Turkana, but we still have about 20 to 30% reliance on hydro. And if indeed the forecasts that we are being given are true, that we are going into a season of drought, then you can clearly tell if we switch off 20% of our power sources, there would be a huge impact on the economy. So this Parliamentarians for Climate Change initiative on green investment zones aims at encouraging government to establish dedicated zones for investors to put up serious investments in renewable energy. It could be green hydrogen, it could be solar, it could be wind, it could be any other form of renewable energy. Where parliamentarians come in is in ensuring that there's proper legislation, proper regulation, proper fiscal incentives, because this is the province of Parliament. A study that was conducted in India on the factors that affected implementation and adoption of renewable energy put regulation and legislation among the top 3 factors. The other one was offtake, because once you have invested, you find regulatory bodies that are not willing to take it up. Mr. Speaker, all these initiatives around green investment, we are doing them because we have cut down our forests, we have cut down our trees, and we have gotten to a point where we are not able to absorb the carbon that comes out of industrial activity. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the issue of carbon credits has always come up. When we plant a lot of trees, it is possible for us to go to the market and claim carbon credits and get an additional source of income. However, Mr. Speaker, under the Paris Agreement, there is an Article 6 that talks about internationally transferred mitigation outcomes. There are countries that are taking advantage of that article to come to Africa, to buy forests, to take up parks, and we have seen it, Mr. Speaker. There is a company from the United Arab Emirates that so far has signed up deals in Africa to take up African forests, and they say the size equivalent to the entire United Kingdom, so that they can continue mining fossil fuels, drilling oil in the Arabian Peninsula, and then they net off with the oxygen that is emitted from African forests. Mr. Speaker, it's a matter that those of us who go for the Conference of Parties need to talk about robustly, because you cannot continue polluting and then you come to Africa and purport that you have bought or you own a forest and say that the carbon capture by that forest is equivalent to the emissions you are making. It is conmanship at international level. And this country must be wary. And I do hope that if we are going to hold the second Africa Climate Summit, which I'm being told might be held in Africa, that these are some of the conversations that will be there, and that this parliament will be robustly involved in the conversations at the Africa Climate Summit. And so, Speaker, it has been good when the chair of that committee at the Africa Union is the President of the Republic of Kenya. We hope that the numbers and figures we'll be taking to the AU, to the Africa Climate Summit, will be numbers that will be verifiable. Because if you say we have planted 1 billion trees, it would be a great folly if Kenyans on social media then unpack it and realize that it was all a pack of lies. Mr. Speaker, I'll finalize by taking on the call that many senators have given, that all of us must walk the talk. We are in talks with the Kenya National Highways Authority for the next rainy season in April to go to Gembe Hills. Gembe Hills is a gazetted forest next to my home village, and in the last National Tree Planting Day, CS Murkomen was there. He led a tree planting exercise, and he challenged Kenya to donate hundreds of thousands of seedlings. And in this rainy season in April, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure you and assure the House that I will join Kenya and other players, and I will also mobilize resources through the Kajwang Foundation so that the rainy season we go out to the forest, we go and do what Senator Abdul is calling on the government to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Now, honorable senators, that brings us to the end of our debate on this particular bill. And I now call upon the mover of the motion, Senator Haji, to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me take this opportunity first to thank all the senators that have contributed and to appreciate them for the many ideas and suggestions that they have given to the bill. Mr. Speaker, when I came up with this bill, it was an attempt to correct something that was already missing in the environment law by introducing vegetation of arid and semi-arid areas. But in no way did this bill intend to alienate any of the other regions. The other regions had already been covered in the existing bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, as senators, we went to Mandera, and I think I was privileged to have attended Senator Sifuna, Senator Onyonka, Senator Eddy, and the other senators to Mandera County. And we actually saw it for ourselves, that vegetating an arid or semi-arid area is something that is very much doable. Mandera has been able to do it. You can imagine, Mr. Speaker, sir, in Mandera, temperatures usually soar up to the heights of 40 degrees centigrade. And when the wind blows, it feels like you're in a microwave. Mr. Speaker, Senator Roba, who was governor at that time, initiated a program to vegetate Mandera. And the trees have now, 10 years later, grown, and they act as a buffer to the hot winds, ensuring that the people of Mandera do not suffer from heat wave. Mr. Speaker, sir, the senators that have contributed have enriched this bill, and I would like to appreciate each and every one of them, from Senator Cherargei, Olekina, Cheriot, Wambua, Esi, Senator Manzo, Senator Mundigi, Dulo, Miraj, Veronica, Wamatinga, Kisang, Senator Abbas, Senator Sigei, yourself, Mr. Speaker, Senator Kamar, Senator Mogeni, Senator Onyonka, Senator Joyce Korir, Senator Kajwang, Senator Sifuna, Senator Mungatana, Senator Beatrice, and Senator Mariam. And I look forward, Mr. Speaker, sir, to work with every one of the senators to ensure that we introduce the clauses that they have proposed. Mr. Speaker, sir, before I move to reply, I would just like to highlight some of the contributions that have been made by my colleague senators. Senator Cherargei, Senator Cherargei intends to introduce a clause to expand the vegetation cover of the Kenyan marshland to 30%. He also mentioned that under the KFS, that he proposes that instead of just planting 2 trees for every 1 cut down, adapt the trees to ensure they reach maturity. And most of the senators, Mr. Speaker, sir, have, and I think that was a typo in the bill or an oversight. If you cut 1 tree, you plant 1 tree. I don't think that is the way we should go, Mr. Speaker, sir. It's actually, if you cut 1 tree, you should plant more than 3 trees, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, such as Senator Cheriot also requested that logging regulations should require that only mature trees are harvested, which I thought was a very good idea. Senator Cherargei also suggested that you utilize the prison land for agroforestry, allowing inmates to plant and adapt and maintain the trees. Senator Cherargei also suggested that we introduce community service orders where offenders are assigned to tree planting and maintaining as a project, which I also thought was a good idea. Mr. Speaker, Senator Olekina proposed that whenever a tree is felled, it must be replaced in a location. He actually opposed the idea that it should be replaced in a location designated by Kenya Forest Services. The senator objects to this requirement, arguing that it introduces unnecessary bureaucracy. And I think yourself, Mr. Speaker, sir, had also mentioned that. He proposes an alternative approach where an individual who cuts down a tree should immediately plant 2 to 3 trees in the same location rather than having to wait for KFS to designate an area. Senator Olekina also proposed that we actually introduce a clause to take care of the Madenge plant, which is a very destructive plant in most of the arid and semi-arid areas. There was also several propositions to the week for planting trees. I think Senator Professor Kamar, Senator Olekina, and several other senators suggested that 1 week is not even enough. We should have a tree planting and tree growing week month. So I think that is something we'll have to discuss and see if we should include in this bill. There was also the popular suggestion that every school, that we should actually introduce a curriculum in our schools where we teach our children so that we can inculcate in their culture the culture of growing and planting and growing trees. And I think that was also a good idea. Senator Cheriot proposed that we consider integrating tree planting practices in special occasions, such as when heads of state and dignitaries visit Kenya. Senator Wambua wanted us to find out a way to put in the bill that it should include provisions, either expressly or implicitly, that ensures leaders take a leading role in environmental conservation efforts. Senator Esi wanted to be a bit, she was requesting that we have a way to track
hataki harusi. Mura ameniharibia binti yangu, sasa yuwasema ni mwizi.
Nyanya, lazima leo nitakuua. Nuru, nimeshindwa kujizuia Jasiri. Kila wakati najihisi niwe karibu na wewe.
Nuru, Jasiri huyo hapa.
Jasiri nani? Nenda!
Are you relieved? Your parents don't look like they're gonna divorce. They're still in love.
It's all thanks to you. You're awesome. With your help, I made this design. Isn't it quite unique?
Shiyang, why don't you think about it?
No. Don't agree. Okay, no problem.
His life? How old are you guys? You're talking about his life?
Sis, I'm begging you, please help me.
I know they look at me one kind. You know life to be busy and you know man. And everybody getting your time. So when I know why the matter no be pass you. Last the only time you could take. Cause I see better days. Better days are coming. for telling me, say, everything gets easy. So make a hustle, yo. So one day you go be my time. When the sun don't shine, when the rain never fall, when the thing never set, don't stop believing. I say better days are coming, better days are coming. When my hustle go pay, and everything where I pay for, don't take on my way. I say better days are coming, better days are coming, better days are coming, yeah. Yes, sir. 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 Yes, sir.
Waving a wife that saying I surrender to you, my lord. I want to confess, me I know if you do without you, my love. And if it all goes crumbling, you can call on me now. And with the Lagos stress, you dey cool me down. On my way, no, but you carry my weight for me. Oh, I can't say no when you look back at me. You're the only one I've been waiting for, cause you carry my pain, baby. Here again, no, I'm down on my knees. Got me singing one bolo boma, one bolo boma, one bolo boma, eh. See you the boss, my bolo boma, eh. You did knock me off my feet like Ali Boma, eh. Ooh, bolo boma, one bolo boma, eh. My peace, I couldn't find it, no. Said my legs, they couldn't walk it, no. As I did for the crowd, feels like sitting out in the dark, yeah. Just like the ray of the sun in my window, you lit bright in my day, yeah. On my way, no, but you carry my weight for me. Oh, I can't say no when you look back at me. You're the only one I've been waiting for, cause you carry my pain, baby. Here again, no, I'm down on my knees. Got me singing one bolo boma, one bolo boma, one bolo boma, eh. See you the boss, my bolo boma, eh. You didn't knock me off my feet like Ali Boma, eh. Ooh, bolo boma, one bolo boma, eh. You know they both my hand.
Not your slave, oh mommy. Every day you want to control me. You know be alone, yummy. You know gon' fit to destroy me. You be narcissist. Take your drug, I'm your medicine. All your fantasy. You need help for your sanity. Oh, young coupe, me say yeah. They say why you did yo? Cause I think I did for. And come my baby, I'm a this I'm not taking your nonsense. This I'm not taking your nonsense, baby. Oh, when I'm a corner man, Sando joy. When I'm a corner man, Sando joy. I know my life for. You know them my life for. I know my life for. You know them my life for. Now let me talk to you, my love. All the years that we've been together, you've been a player, Casanova. You mess up this time, it's over. Now I'm my son. I'm not blinded by your love. See me stronger. I'm not the girl you used to know. This I'm not taking your nonsense. I'm not taking your nonsense. This I'm not taking your nonsense, baby. Oh, this I'm not taking your nonsense. I'm not taking your nonsense. This I'm not taking your nonsense, baby. Oh, when I'm a corner man, Sando joy. When I'm a corner man, Sando joy. I know my life for. You know that my life for. No.
You and I say you go be my boo. Kuwa maisha ni mwangu tu, unamaanisha vingi ujui tu. Na something that you don't know, madakwa nawe mekwara tu. I feel it crazy, navo can do for you, baby. Now you make my life will be less stress. I just shoot as I can easy, baby. The way you love me, baby, let me come first. What I can do for you, baby. Now you make my life will be less stress. I just shoot as I can easy, baby. The way you love me, baby.